Stuart Broad. What's he standing there for? They've all appealed. It looked as if he just nicked it through the keeper.
We have a very, very special guest for the rugby section that we are touching on today. We're very excited, very humbled to have Nic White join us today for a chat about rugby. We're going to chat about the current internationals and his life in England and France. Nic is, of course, capped 22 times for the Wallabies, 67 times for the Brumbies, now plies his trade in Exeter after a stint in Montpellier in France. He and partner Mel recently welcomed a son into the world, and Nic was also named in the Premiership Team of the Year in England. So a lot happening for Nic. Nic, thanks for taking the time out to talk to us, mate. How you going?
I'm very good. Thank you for the very kind introduction. And, mate, I've been listening to your podcast and couldn't wait to get on. So thank you, legends.
Lovely. That's the first time that anyone has ever said that they couldn't wait to get on our podcast. Usually it's the polar opposite. So, Nic, you got
I think it's good. You know, it's raw and you know, I think you know, you see a lot of like ex professionals or people trying to bust into the media, very PC about everything and don't exactly speak their mind. But one thing I know about you, Red Man, you speak exactly what's on your mind. There's not much of a filter.
Yeah, well, there is the. Ex-professional is probably not how I describe us either. There was at no point in my life have I ever been professional at anything. But we'll keep soldiering on. Thank you, Nic. I just wanted to say straight off the bat, you've got a stellar reputation around the world as a sledger on the field, a genuine pest. I've seen it described in other media commitments. How did you refine these skills? As someone who loves to get under the skin of people and. With that, who do you love to target? Who's your favourite target? Could be an individual, could just be, forwards, whatever, big props.
See, it's a sore one for me. I don't actually see myself as much as a sledger. I am a pest and I don't shut up. That's true. Guilty as charged. It's usually in the ear of the referee a fair bit. And I'm never too aggressive, but I'd say commentate the game very well to the referee. And I don't know. I guess if the opposition blokes make a mistake, I'll make sure they know about it.
As any good halfback should.
Yeah, every halfback should. I guess I really do love to. You get blokes who whinge a bit. And rugby, as you know, is a game of laws, not rules, and it's interpretations and whatnot. And there's a lot of them. And to be honest, I don't even know a lot of them half the time. But you hear guys kind of whinging from the opposition, and half the time I'm just explaining to them in, I guess, a kind of pest and annoying and aggressive way that, look, they're wrong and these are the rules, champion. They're usually big blokes. Yeah, usually the forwards that go, look, I can come through and hit the 9. And you're like, no, mate, you can't. You're absolute melon.
That's just their 4 remaining brain cells trying to figure out what to do, Nic.
Yeah, it's usually the big guys, and I'm just usually explaining the rules of the game to them in a pretty condescending way. Excellent. And they don't take too kind to that, given I'm all of 4'2" and a bit of a pest. Exactly.
Look, mate, I once stopped for a read of the morning paper, and there was a lovely picture of you on the front page. Unfortunately, you were getting palmed in the face by Dane Coles as he sprinted off downfield. Do you come across any action shots of yourself where you just have to sort of laugh, or maybe a tear rolls down the eye?
I think one that I think is very funny, and this probably more so why people think I'm a bit of a pest and a sledger and annoying. There was one where people go, "Oh, you must get scared of the big boys on the field," and I go, "Well, not really. I can't really get away with anything anymore. Like back in the day, a bloke like me would cop, 10 or so to the chin from a big bloke, and I wouldn't lip up again." But there's a good photo of Will Skelton. He had the ball and he ran off, and I wanted to take a quick tap. I think it was in the semi-final. And there's a photo where he's got me by my jersey just under the chin, and I've got him by his jersey. And I'm on my tiptoes, and I'm barely reaching his jersey. It's real David versus Goliath. Like, what the hell was I thinking? But to be honest, it's not like he can do anything. He'd cut weeks if he even touched me. So I guess that's my theory on that.
You've got the safety there behind you.
Yeah, exactly. I've got all these cameras. It's usually what I say. Like, go on, do it. You're an idiot. Everyone will see it. That photo makes me laugh because he's got me by, I reckon, 70 kilos.
Yeah, easily. That's in his left leg. Mate, new fatherhood is a hot topic on this podcast here. Aaron's got a new baby girl. You've also welcomed a son, Leo, into the world. At some stage in his life, mate, I just want to ask you this question straight off the bat. You're going to have, that talk with Leo. A lot of fathers have to go through this. It's a touchy subject. And I am just wondering how, if you've thought about how you'll break it to your son that he was born in England.
Yeah, who's he going to play for? That's a tough one. I won't say he has to play for Australia, but I'll obviously really urge and push it. And I'll let him know that if he chooses otherwise, I won't be changing. I'll certainly be supporting Australia and actively.
You'll be sledging him from the sideline.
Yeah, and I'm good at it.
Me son's a dog.
Yeah. No, as soon as I brought him back, I introduced him to the family. Yeah, this is my pasty pom son, Leo. Here you go.
Is he already drinking tea and eating fish and chips? And...
Red hot beers.
Yeah, warm beers. I'll get him back before he can start sounding like a pom and get him in. And you don't really remember before you're 4 years old. So I think if I can just band everyone I know around me together and we just trick him, I'll just hide his passport.
That sounds like a good idea.
No, it's good. Yeah, it is really good. It's anyone like Aaron would know, anyone who says that once you have a kid, your life changes. It does. Priorities in life have changed big time, and it's pretty exciting.
How old is he?
He's 4 months. He's a little pasty, bow-legged, big-eared. He's just like me, but just English.
Nic, after all these years of playing rugby, mate, I just wanted to ask you a general question. What do you still enjoy most about the game? You've played at most levels now, from clubland to Super Rugby, now Premiership Rugby, and of course international rugby. What still excites you about the game?
The game itself, I think the build up. I still get really nervous before games, no matter what that game is. I get nervous, and I kind of enjoy that. A few hours before kickoff, the warm up, the running out, wanting to do your best, and seeing kind of the look in other guys' eyes that you always form a fair bond with the guys that you train with and work hard with and play with. They're kind of friendships you keep for a long time. So, that stuff I absolutely love. More delving into it, the bit that I love most about rugby and the game is kind of that. Every day I get to rock up and go in and talk shit and. With 45 of my best mates, every day I'm in there just like having an absolute ball, playing pranks on blokes, giving it to blokes, and I think I'll really miss that side of the game when I do hang up, and I'll probably do my best to replace it by just finding a club rugby team that'll let me run around in 4th grade till I'm 60, just so I can just be around the blokes and for at least 2 nights of the week and get away on the weekend, because I will really miss that. I think that's part of rugby that I love the most is just being able to be around the lads all the time.
Yeah. When you just a word of warning from 2 absolute 4th graders here, when you do go back to 4th grade, I think one thing you'll miss about the professional level of rugby is that guys actually catch the ball. Yeah. And they don't they're where they're supposed to be at all times. You'll be looking around going, where the fuck is everyone? Oh, they're back on the try line.
I think by the time that comes, I'll be I'll be very happy to stand out on the wing where my career will finish where it started, out on the wing.
Yep.
And I'll be happy to let blokes run past me because I'll look at everyone and be like, look, I just didn't feel like that. I will join in on that sort of mantra big time. The 4th grade, the Kenneth grade kind of mantra.
Yep. We'll start with your stint here at Montpellier and now in England, your overseas lifestyle. Look, how are you enjoying the life over in England, all the fish, chips and rain over there in the old Dart? Is it a nice place? And also with France as well, did you enjoy living in France?
So when I left Australia, I left quite early. Some would say I was 25 I went to France thinking that I was joining a really good team with a big budget and a lot of world class players, and just envisioned it being a really professional setup and chasing big trophies. And I kind of got over there in France, kind of wasn't really that. It was a lot of the guys over there were a little bit older than I was, 3-4 years, and they kind of looked at it as more of a retirement kind of package, I guess, and they were ready to kind of sit their feet up for most of their time. And if we won a game, good. If we lost the game, it didn't really matter. They were getting paid all the same, and that kind of frustrated me. I guess fair bit younger than all those guys, those international guys and the French guys. So I decided that sort of footy wasn't for me. It wasn't real professional. I weren't training real hard and just didn't really have that bond of really wanting to fight for something like as a collective. So I went to England, and I've found immediately that I've joined a club that's made the Premiership Grand Final the last 3 years in a row, and they've got huge ambitions, and a lot of the guys are a fair bit younger than me, and the setup is really professional. They train real hard, but at the same time, and this is probably the bit I love the most about it, and I didn't know that I would love the most about it, didn't know about it, is that something that the English rugby do really well is it's a touch amateur in the way they approach everything. I really enjoy that. Once upon a time, I'd go the whole Super Rugby season. I wouldn't even touch a beer. I wouldn't have a drink. We never caught up with the opposition after a game. It was extremely professional, and I did enjoy that while I did it. But now I've joined the Premiership and seen the way they do it is. Exeter, every single game we play against someone, we catch up with them in a really intimate space where it's just the two teams, and we have a meal together after the game, have a couple of beers, and that's
excellent.
That's something that I really enjoy. Throughout the year, we kind of have these socials. I guess they're kind of almost like a Mad Monday type thing throughout the year. We don't wait till the end of the year. We celebrate things throughout the year because it is a long year, and I think they've really got the balance right, and I've really enjoyed that about the guys. They kind of had the philosophy of winning something is really awesome, and they want to win as many trophies as they can. But they see it as if they do win, and they win it with a bunch of guys that they've made these amazing memories with, well then, and they're their best mates. Well then, that's even better, and I really enjoy that.
Excellent, for sure. Yeah, we wanted to get a quick insight into the difference in rugby in those parts, because a lot has been made recently here of the decline of Super Rugby. The competition, as you would know, it's struggling a little bit in terms of its standards and things like that. And when you compare, your time in Exeter and your time in France to your time at the Brumbies, what do you think the differences are? And do you think the North is sort of overtaking, the Southern Hemisphere and Super Rugby in terms of clubland now?
I think, to cut to the chase, I think in terms of clubland, it has. I don't think internationally, but certainly in France and all over Europe, the club rugby is really, really strong over there. It's well supported, but I think I honestly don't know what it comes down to as to why Super Rugby's kind of failed, and I kind of have my views on where they went wrong. The standard of rugby, it does look like it's struggling a little bit. I think the Super Rugby expanded too quickly. I think I look at teams and and I talk to people who know rugby and support rugby, and they say, have you watched the Brumbies game this weekend? Who are they playing? And I'd say, the Jaguars, and they go, who are they? It's a little bit like that. Super 12, it was Super 10, Super 11, Super 12. It was really strong, and everyone knew where the teams were from, and even if they were South African teams, people cared. Whereas now it just seems there's that really. What's the word? I don't know. I just think the teams overseas, you've got.
It's very vague and muddled now.
Yeah, it is. And overseas, the teams have been around for a long time, so you've got a lot of diehard fans. But, you just bring in, like the NRC, they've brought in teams and just expect people to support them. But no one, the teams haven't been around for people to become diehard supporters of. So, you know what I mean? You look at Shoot Shield, and they get good crowds because the teams have been around for a very long time, and you do have plenty of diehard supporters that want to go and support them. So I think it just expanded too quickly. It got way too big for its own boots, and now it's kind of paying the price, which is really disappointing. And I don't know what the answers are. I don't know if anybody does. It may be too far gone. I'm not sure. I don't know. I guess we'll find out after the World Cup when the TV rights deal gets done and Super Rugby's format will change. Everyone will see what's happening. But overseas, I think a big thing to do with it is stadium sizes. Not too many stadiums are very big. They're all kind of 15, 20,000.
Yep.
We don't get massive crowds. The Waratahs get 20,000 at ANZ. It doesn't really look very much, but I'll tell you, like we get 12,500 down at Sandy Park in Exeter, and it looks amazing just because the stadium's so small. So
it's always been been an argument too for the rugby league guys as well. That 10,000 or 20,000 out at Homebush Stadium there. It always looks like there's 4 people there, but 20,000 at Leichhardt Oval looks great.
Yeah, exactly that. I remember I played the Waratahs up at ANZ, and there was like 24,000 people there, and it just looked like no one was there. And I was like, we can't even fit 24,000 down at GIO Stadium. Like, I mean, if you jam packed them into there, it'd look amazing.
Yeah.
So it was like the biggest crowd we played in all year, but it just didn't feel like it because bloody ANZ's so big. So I don't know. Like, there is rugby league and AFL and everything over here, so it's very difficult. Like in France, it's football or rugby, and that's it. And in England, there's really no rugby teams up north where they play leagues. So southern parts of England, it's just football or rugby. In a country where the population's so big, you only got to get a small percentage of each city kind of supporting you, and there's an easy 10,000 people. I don't know, Redman. I don't know.
No, that's good. That's good.
What are the, I don't know. I don't know. And I listen to people who say they do know the answer for Australian rugby and Super Rugby. Like Rod Kafer seems to know the answers to everything. I'm not sure. I'm not sure he does. If I have the answers, they don't.
Yeah, he does, man. Just ask him.
Exactly, he does. And he's happy to tell everyone what they're doing wrong and how they should be doing it. But I don't think, as I said, like it can jump in and have a go. I think it's going to be very difficult for rugby. But one thing's for sure, if Wallabies keep kind of playing the way they are at the moment, the way they did against Ireland in that first test, and I know they lost in that second test, but they played good footy. Like, they played good rugby, and it was good to watch. And they're playing against the second best team in the world. So if they keep playing like that, at least the Wallabies will do well, and hopefully we can, start to get some teams doing well in Super Rugby. And if you're doing well, then crowds will come back. So.
Sure, success is one of the key ingredients, and that's a nice segue though into international rugby, because I just wanted to get your opinion on a few and your thoughts on the current internationals that are being played out across the world. As a little footnote to start with, I did see that the French claimed the under-20s championship for the first time yesterday. They knocked over the English in the final after steamrolling the All Blacks in the semi, or the Junior All Blacks. So a great feat for the French under-20 squad there, holds them in good stead for the future. But we're going to start with the All Blacks, and they roll on. Playing against them must be tough, eh? And then you've obviously got a bit of it's my personal conspiracy theory that there's a 16th man out there for the All Blacks, but we'll keep that powder dry. How good are this current crop of All Blacks, Nick? And do you see, are they just clear favourites now in terms of the final for in terms of winning the 2019 World Cup?
I think they are. Yeah, they'd definitely be favourites going in. I'm not sure. I read it somewhere. It might have been that Ben Darwin is doing a lot of work on cohesion and stuff. He kind of said that the All Blacks aren't as good as what they were, but they're still better than everyone else. So I don't think the current crop are as good as what the All Blacks of like the Richie McCaw kind of era, and when they really didn't look like losing. They may have choked in a few games, but they just look really settled. I think the current crop, they kind of look like they can beat a team by a lot of points, but they can also concede a fair few as well. And I'd like to see how they go under pressure. Like you kind of saw with the British and Irish Lions, put them under a fair bit of pressure, and they didn't cope all that well in a World Cup when teams, when there is a lot of pressure. I'm looking forward to it. I'd say they're favourites, but firm favourites and definite winners, I don't think so.
Yeah, I like the more direct term of calling them chokers, but I like how you tiptoed around that.
Yeah, well, it's true. Like that, and they'll be the first to say it. In 2007, they choked, and before that, and the best thing is they come out and they faced it front on. Like there's plenty of I don't know, documentaries and articles where they came out and said that they faced it front on and that they kind of choked, and they talk about their blue head and red head and all that sort of stuff and how much calmer they have to be. And ever since then, the worst thing is they faced it front on that kind of tag, and ever since then they've bloody hell, they've only lost a handful of games really since '07. Like they go each year and only lose 1, 2 or 3 games. So fair play to them. They've won the last 2 World Cups since then. So
what do you?
I don't know. England were amazing last year, and now they've lost like 6 on the bounce.
Yep.
Ireland are good this year, but I think we look really good and didn't look great last year, but there's a lot of young guys coming through. And I think if we get everybody on the field and everyone injury-free, like we look really good. Wales, they could upset a couple of teams. The French, you don't know what the French are going to bring. They could be like the under-20 side and absolutely brain it, or they could come out and just cop 50 like they did 2 weeks ago.
Tom, just on World Cup favourites, did you see the USA beat Scotland in Houston?
I did.
Over the weekend?
Yeah.
Are the Eagles on the up and up, Nick?
Yeah, definitely. And that competition over there's, just kicked off this year and seems to, they've got their ducks in a row, and hopefully that competition goes leaps and bounds. But they've got a number of those guys you see in that Eagles side that are playing in the Premiership. So and in the Pro 14. So they've got some really good names in there, and I think they will get on the up and up. And if they can keep finding really good players in Super Rugby and in the Premiership that have some sort of ancestry about 3 grandparents ago, well then, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They find a few of these Islander boys that have I'm sure you were in the States for about a month, so you'll count.
The US naval base kids.
Yeah. So every nation, every kind of tier 2 nation can find a handful of those that do really well. That can change everything. So
sure.
Them beating Scotland is amazing for World Rugby, I think, and awesome for the States, because, as I said, that competition only kicked off like a couple of months ago, and I've got high hopes for that. I think if we can get rugby doing well over there, and
it will absolutely change the game, that's for sure.
Yeah, it will. Like, if you get them actually caring just a smidgen about it, like, you're never going to rival, obviously, some of their big sports, but if you just get them caring a little bit, far out. It's a big place.
It was the USA's first win over a Tier 1 nation in 94 years.
Wow, there you go.
Yeah.
The Scots, they're on the wrong end of a couple of these records, but I'll just rewind just slightly there for you, Nick. You mentioned it that South Africa, they now have beaten England twice in their series there, and the English losing streak has stretched to 6 games now. As someone who plays in England, I know you're currently back in Australia enjoying some time off, but they obviously got off to a great start with Eddie Jones. I think they won 18 or 19 on the bounce. Now there's a bit of a losing streak. What's the mood like from, I guess, guys you play with or maybe pages you follow or something like that, in terms of what are you gauging what they're feeling like after 6 losses now? Yeah,
it's a little bit mixed. Like, obviously some people support, and like most fans, once you lose 6 in a row, like they're calling for heads type thing. And I see English rugby have kind of come out and supported Eddie, but like 6 losses in a row is, from where they've come from, it's hard. It's a bitter pill to swallow. But I'll put a different spin on it, and this is my view from playing up there. So if you go back kind of 12 months ago, you got the British and Irish Lions. And a lot of the English players, because of England were doing so well, played in that British and Irish Lions, and that's a huge tour.
Yeah.
So they go a full season, and they go straight into the British and Irish Lions. Then they come back, they join our pre-seasons. A lot of players get a little bit of time off, but only a couple of weeks, and they're straight back into it. Only about 2 or 3 players actually got a few weeks off from their clubs, because the Premiership's a bit different, where we're all privately owned. They want their players playing. They're not doing England any favours by resting them. All of the kind of Mako Vunipolos, Jack Knowles, Atoje, all these big names that were playing big minutes in that British and Irish Lions, they went through and played a whole Premiership, and they played all those European games. And I remember looking, and someone did an article about it, because the Irish players there, so the Irish are a bit like Australia, they have those central contracts. So the Irish players, the Irish Union goes, look, these guys like Conor Murray and Sexton, all that, have played big big minutes and back season. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull them out. They didn't play the first, 8-10 rounds, 8-10 weeks off. Then all of a sudden they've rested, your big furlongs, the guys you're seeing playing for Ireland now, they've rested all year. So then you see them in the Six Nations, they absolutely brain it. These poor English guys. I saw Dan Coles, is it not Dan? Yeah, Dan Cole, the
prop.
Dan Cole?
Yeah, it is Dan Coles. Yeah.
Yeah, Dan Coles versus Tag Furlong, minutes played premiership to the Pro 14. Dan Cole had 1,300 minutes versus 320 for that Tag Furlong. 1,000 minutes, give or take, difference between that. And I just think now it's all catching up with them. Like the English players, they just look tired. Like we've got Saracens players and Exeter players take most of the spots in that side that played a grand final, had 2 or 3 days off, and then went on tour. So some of those guys have gone over 12 months straight with only a handful of weeks off. I don't know what the answer is. And there's a lot of coaches that will say that Eddie Jones needed to rest a lot of them, and he didn't because he obviously just wants to win. So the players back to the club, and all they want to do is win, so they play them. And I just think it's a bit of a mess. That player welfare needs to be looked at. Blokes are breaking, and you're seeing that. There's a lot of guys broken up here that could be in that side, and Irish rugby have done it really well.
Sure. And onto the Irish rugby now. Again, a nice segue. The Irish versus Australia series. Have you watched the 2 games so far? And what are you thinking about both the Irish and the Aussies after casting your eye over them? How do they look to you? Australia obviously probably exceeding a few expectations given last year. And Ireland coming off a strong Six Nations where they won the Grand Slam. It's been a good series so far. So what do you think of the 2 performances, and where do they sit in terms of going forward to Japan 2019?
I think both teams are in a really good position going forward to the World Cup. I think obviously Ireland, winning the Six Nations, they come down here. I think they were smart, a little bit like what I was saying just before with England. Their coach is smart. Smarter. I'm sure they're both smart, but he's a bit smarter. He rested all those Leinster guys that played in the grand final that won it, like a lot of their big names. That first test, as much as he wants to win it, I think he kind of went, you know what, these blokes do need a bit of a break. I can't, looking forward, and I need a little bit of depth. So that first Irish team they picked up in Brisbane was probably a little bit weaker than what he could pick. But, at the same time, I thought the Aussies, 100%, above expectation. Their defence was unbelievable. It was to watch, quick line speed, the guys making big hits. Curtly and Karevi. I think everyone was a bit worried about them in the centres, and they've defended really, really well the first 2 tests. So I think, I think they look really good. And the Irish, I saw for the first time Czech picked the same 23, and they were talking about consistent performance, all that sort of stuff. And then the second test came. I think the Wallabies probably did play a consistent game and probably were as good as they were the week before. It was just the Irish team. They put out their strong side, and the one that is the second best probably team in the world, and the one that won the Six, saw how good they can be, and that's
they definitely lifted.
Yeah, they definitely lifted that. I don't think the Wallabies are too far off. If they probably don't give away a few penalties, then all of a sudden 6 or 9 points come off that score, and it's really close. And they didn't get a whole lot of opportunities, and they scored 3 tries. So there's a lot of things to be really optimistic about the Wallabies there. And they're not far away from the second best team in the world, and a lot of people would have thought that wasn't possible. So I think they're both in really good shape. As I said, if they keep all their big names, like a guy like Pocock, he changes everything for the Wallabies.
Isn't he unbelievable?
Yeah. If he's not out there, well then Ireland get that quick tempo rhythm that they want. Ireland we don't get those turnovers, all that sort of stuff. So I think Pocock has been the key definitely in us doing really well, but you need to make sure he's fit. And at the same time, you saw if they don't have a few of their big names, how bad they can be the week before. So there's certainly 2 teams that need to make sure they keep certain guys fit and ready.
Sure. Now, in terms of the Wallaby squad, I just want to, obviously you mentioned Pocock there, who's just phenomenal. It's just one of the best back rowers in the world. If you're the coach, who's in your squad? Who gets in just for being a great bloke who's in there for the laughs and the comedy value? But moreover, who do you think is going to be the bolters or the people you'd select for the World Cup that are in there?
Oh yeah, good blokes. Not
many of them in Australia.
Bernard Foley is an absolute crack up. Like I think there was a photo like a long time ago of like after a test match went out, and it was quite early on in his test career, and it was like Bernard Foley arm wrapped around Dan Carter at a nightclub, and you saw Dan Carter in this pristine ironed button-up shirt, looking sharp like the male model that he is, and he's standing there, and then Pig is standing next to him with his arm around him in just a white, just a plain white shirt with orange cordial all over it from drinking probably, I don't know, any sort of vodka raspberry or something. It's spilt all over him. He looks like a mess. He kind of pulls that like one-eyed face with like, and he looks, and you're just like, that's what I love about us. You know what? He's our 10. He's an absolute legend. He's funny. He's down to earth. I think anyone that would meet Bernard Foley would absolutely love him and say that he's a crack up guy. So he'd be very close to first in, first picked, and you got to pick a guy like David Pocock. But bolters, I'm not sure there really is any. I think they're close to spot on the money at the moment. Yeah. With the team, I think it's a good team. I think they need to get that team pretty settled. I think, the back row. I'm not sure. Like I think that Pete Summer, he's been pretty impressive.
Very impressive, yeah.
There's probably like a number 8 is probably a spot that is, or like one of the back rows. Obviously, they're going to go with Hoops and Pocock, I'd imagine. So that other back row spot's pretty up for grabs. I think the second row, Adam Coleman seems to be doing a pretty good job. He's a bit of a loose unit on the field, isn't he? But at the same time, he's kind of the guy you kind of want on your team, because he certainly seems to give it to the opposition. And
he's the enforcer.
A guy like Brodie Retallick, I think a guy like Brodie Retallick probably doesn't enjoy a guy like Adam Coleman all too much. So
sure. You need someone getting in his face.
Yeah, I think given time, I think the guys that have been coming off the bench in the front row, surely they've got to start soon. That Tupou's far out. Wow.
You would not want to tackle him at full steam.
No, and he seems to know that he is big and wants to hurt people, so it's good.
Definitely.
So I think, as I say, I don't think there's too many. I don't think there's too many bolters, but I don't know.
How long is Genya out for?
Maybe
with the broken arm.
Well, I think he misses he definitely misses the rest of the series, but I didn't quite catch up on where he was.
He's getting surgery.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, I think.
Shit.
Yeah, I'd imagine he'd miss about 6 weeks or so.
In terms of being a halfback yourself, mate, is there a young halfback coming up in Australia that's caught your eye?
Yeah, I think that Jake Gordon's. I've been watching him. He just seems to have all the right sort of stuff. Like Red, you know me very well. The kind of stuff I look at in a halfback is someone who just kind of looks really competitive and just wants to do the hard stuff. And he seems to have that sort of ticker that he just wants to. He's got really good skills, good support games, good pass and kick, but he just has that little bit of extra, a little bit of grunt that I think he's surely got to come on leaps and bounds, and he can't be too far away from getting a bit of a crack at the Wallabies. He's putting out one of the Wallaby halfbacks at Clubland, so he can't be too far away at sneaking in there and either just getting in the squad as third string or even pushing a bench spot.
So, with that in mind, mate, give us a prediction for the last test. What do you think is going to happen?
Oh no, it's Sydney, isn't it? Like Arvo Footy at the SFS.
Arvo Footy, yep, at the SFS, or whoever's tacked their name on the front of that stadium now.
Allianz.
Allianz.
Yeah, I think Arvo Footy. I think like the Wallabies will be able to play that sort of the way they played the last 10 minutes. If they go like that, and I'm sure they will. It'll be a good afternoon, and that they should come out. A couple of tries ahead. Like as I said, silly penalties they gave away kept the Irish in it, and if they get a fair bit more ball, they'll get a few more opportunities, and you can see they can finish those opportunities pretty well. So by 12, I don't know how high the score will be. You'd imagine there'll be a pretty high scoring game. I reckon they'll win by 12.
I'm taking my minimum wage paycheck and unloading it on a 12-point win for the Wallabies now. So thanks for that red hot tip. Nick, I'll just finish with three quick ones for you, just three quick hitters here. What's your least favourite ground to play at? And I don't mean that in a sense of what's most daunting. I mean, what's just the shittest ground? Where do you hate going?
Worst sheds.
Worst sheds, cold showers.
Like there's some, as I said before, there's small stadiums in the UK, and therefore like they're really old. Bath Rugby, they have the smallest shed. Like, honestly, it'd be the size of this car I'm sitting in now. So the way we do it is we get dressed in the toilets as well. So it's like the forward pack get the sheds, then the six backs get changed in the toilets, and then the bench have to wait outside. And then once we're changed, they come in, and then we go out. Mate, it's absolutely
wow.
And that field is rubbish.
Bath being outed here, so there you go. No one ever go to the rec ground, I think it's called, isn't it, in Bath?
Yeah, it's the rec. Oh, in saying that, like, it's an awesome place for supporters to come and watch footy. Really great, but I think it's 100 and it's probably 1 million years old. That thing, like. Yeah, and it's, like, it needs updates. I think it's getting a little bit of an update at some stage this year, but it needs it.
Fair play. Who's the bloke, the worst bloke to stand next to during the anthem? Who is just tone deaf? You're thinking, shut up.
Or worst singer, Sam Carter was right up there. Like, because his dad played for the Wallabies, so he's real proud country boy. And he really belts it, like goes for it, but horrible foghorn of a voice. I'll go with Carts. He's one that really sticks out that I remember in Argentina. He was absolutely belting it out. I just thought, oh my God.
You're ruining this moment for me.
Yeah. I didn't think that. Yeah. But yeah, he was horrible.
And finally, you've got the nickname around some circles as Woody. How did that come about?
Jeez, I don't know who came up with that. It was kind of down. I think it was down at Brumbies when I first got down there, and obviously I've got really bowed legs, look like I've just jumped straight off a horse. And yeah, like I think one of the physiotherapists straight up just gave me the nickname Woody. I'm not sure why Whitey wasn't.
Is that from? Is that a Toy Story reference? Is that what they're saying?
Sorry, yeah. So from Toy Story, Woody, who obviously has extremely bowed legs. But I've run with it. I actually don't mind. It's pretty good. I've got a fair few now. The Exeter boys call me Gecko. We did a bit of sand running in pre-season, and it just happened to be perfectly timed with David Attenborough's bloody Planet documentaries that were coming out on TV.
Right.
I don't know if you've seen, but that little gecko, bloody lizard-looking thing that runs up the sand and has all the snakes chasing him. Well, apparently I was the gecko out in front of the rest of the pack, just running with both legs up the sand.
Well, to be fair, it's probably the first time those blokes have ever seen a beach.
Yeah. No, they think they have. They haven't seen a real beach, but
Blackpool's not a beach.
So I think that's it. I've got Gecko, Woody, and that's about it. And Whitefish, which is one of my favourites.
Whitefish, of course, I'm the only one who calls you Whitefish. Which, for anyone who doesn't know, is a reference to American History X. When they're getting out of the prison cells, and the guy goes, "Hey, Whitefish, are you eyeball fucking me, Whitefish?" So that's how that came about, and that's definitely the worst nickname of all of them that you've got. But Nick, we'll let you get back to your day-to-day activities, having lunch with the in-laws, I believe, at the moment. Yep. Back in town for a little while.
Out here in Mudgee. I'm out at Mudgee at the moment, so I went to Maitland for a couple of weeks. Caught up there out at Mudgee, and then fly out on Tuesday to go back and get stuck back into pre-season.
Excellent, mate. Well, we appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. Great to have you on the show, mate. Good luck for the pre-season ahead. All the best for the season in Exeter, and I'm sure we'll be in touch soon.
Yeah, no, thank you guys for having me on. As I said, I couldn't wait to get on, and I hope I haven't spoken too much, and I hope I haven't been too much of a PC dickhead. So
no, that is definitely, you've definitely been fine, mate. That's no worry. We just talk too much every week.
No, good. Excellent, mate. Thanks
for the chat.
All right, too easy. See you, boys.
Thanks, mate. Bye bye.